All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Facilities and Safety Committee meeting to order. This meeting was scheduled and posted as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. And so the items that we're going to have today on the agenda, the first item are also that this is an audio-video conference notice. You want me to?
You can just say that it's still in accordance.
It's still in accordance with the Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings laws issued on March 16th, 2020. This meeting will be conducted via audio-video conference and will be viewable for the public to review. Okay, let's move on into the agenda. The first item is going to be the presentation of our TRE funded projects from Mr. Tapia, who has just returned from his vacation. Looks like he got a sunburn too. So.
He's ready.
Okay, Oskar, would you lead us through these, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Powers and members of the committee and Dr. Cavazos, colleagues. The first item on the agenda for the TRE project is the Treasure Hills Elementary classroom wing addition. We've made quite a bit of progress. The new VCT floor has been installed and it is completed and it's been waxed, and so they're already starting to move in furniture and equipment from the current school over to the new wing. A lot of the punch list items are being worked on, minor issues. We do have some issues with the air conditioning and the controls. There's something going on with the controls and the equipment that are not communicating correctly, or there's some sensors that are tripping and little lights coming on. So they're trying to work through that. That's the whole purpose of the commissioning work, is to identify deficiencies in the system. So they're working through that. We're having some meetings with the engineers and the contractors and trying to get those little items resolved. But all the outside work, the sprinkler, irrigation, planting work is complete. And I think the keys, we're trying to get the keys turned over to us for the building so they can start assigning keys to all the teachers. Just the grass is already growing and germinating on the large grounds area. We got trees planted and plants. On the interior there, you can see the tile work that was installed. It looks really nice. There's some more photos of a classroom with the gray and blue. Some are gray and blue and green and orange, different color schemes for the different levels. There's a blue concept. So very nice, very clean. You can see the sheen on the floor with the wax reflecting off the light fixtures and the window light. Looks very nice. That's the hallway upstairs with the green color and some of the another classroom shot there.
Oskar, let me interrupt you for just a second. Are these the tiles that originally weren't planned but were done because the floor wasn't finished properly?
Yes, they covered, this work was all to cover the stained concrete that was not accepted by the district.
So the ones, though, the photographs you've been showing us, like the one right now that's got the lime green stripes and the one before with the blue, that's all stuff that was added because they didn't do the first part right?
That's correct.
Wow, it looks terrific.
Yep.
It looks terrific. Go ahead.
Really nice. I like it better than the stained concrete that they were trying to get, but we just never could get the quality to an acceptable level.
It looks really nice. Please tell Bill Scoggins that too, that I think it's really came out very professional looking.
Okay. And these are the light fixtures that were hung from the skylight. You don't see them much during the day because the skylight will be reflecting sun in. But at nighttime, when it's dark, these are the fixtures that will be illuminating that space. So it turned out pretty nice.
Just bulbs?
No, they're actual.
That's it on phase one. It was just a matter of getting those little AC issues worked out and a few little minor scratches and dents here and there, some cleanup work, some concrete that splashed up against some trim work that we're trying to clean up. And the fencing, I believe, was already complete. They just need to work on the lock and on the card swipe system. Other than that, the project's almost done. Any questions on that phase?
Hey, Oskar, can you go back? I just jumped in. Can you show the flooring again, please?
I'm sorry you cut out. I couldn't hear that last part.
Do you mind going back to the flooring, please?
That one, or?
The blue one looks terrific.
That's the hallway, all the hallway where we were having issues with it.
Boy, that looks terrific.
Yeah, that looks great.
Terrific.
Can you go back to the hall, yeah, the hallway? Yeah, that looks great.
You know, Oscar, it looks like they did this pretty quickly. I'm surprised that it's already done, or were you anticipating it being done this quickly?
We anticipated about 2 weeks, and that's about what it took. The hard part was waiting for the materials to come in, but once they came in, they did a floor
I know.
per week.
It actually looks better than,
Yeah, free.
yeah.
All right.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Oscar, it does look beautiful. I agree with Greg. It's just beautiful and so nicely done and clean and crisp. Looks great. Very welcoming. My question relates to what we've talked about several times, and I was going to wait until later to ask, but I think it's really appropriate at this point. When we discussed several months ago the concern about air quality and air exchange capacities, your comment was that you felt comfortable that with the new schools, because that's sort of built in. And so I'm wondering, has that been the case here? I mean, can you teach us a little bit about air quality, air exchange in terms of the infectious issues that are plaguing us now? And secondly, I wondered, are any of the windows openable?
The windows on the second floor are not operable. They're mainly for
Understood, yeah,
view.
sure.
But what we do with the air conditioning systems now, as per, it's an ASHRAE code and building code under mechanical sections, they all, and energy codes too, they all require that we introduce fresh air from the outside to be mixed in with the air that's recirculating on the inside. The old AC systems, they just circulated the indoor air, and you would only get fresh air when people would open the doors or any windows, people coming in and out. That was the only fresh air you would get. So your CO2 levels would climb high when you had a lot of kids in the school and causing some problems. And then, of course, if you had moisture, we're starting to have that mold problem back in the 90s and the early 2000s. So the change in the codes are bringing in fresh air,
No, they're actual.
and that required the mechanical systems to be more robust to be able to strip the moisture out of. We're introducing new air into the building. We have a lot of humidity here, so it's better air quality, but it increased the cost of the energy consumption because the AC units had to be had to work harder and be sized a little bit bigger to be able to strip the moisture out of that new air being introduced. But your CO2 levels are now kept very, very low. So that's how we're handling that. What we're doing also right now as part of this COVID, to further provide clean air, is that we would normally change the air filters every month, every 4 weeks. We're gonna start changing them out every 2 to 3 weeks. And every time we change out the filters, we're gonna be spraying a disinfectant spray, kind of like a deodorizer, that kills bacteria particles on the filter itself. And we're also spraying all the air conditioning coils. The coils are the ones that are very cold that the air blows through. And we're gonna be spraying the coils and the filters, so as the air blows through, it's circulating that decontamination or bacterial disinfectant that'll kill any particles, bacteria particles in the air or on the floor. So that's something additional we're doing right now with our maintenance department. I hope that helps.
Oh, yeah, that helps. That's very helpful. That's very helpful. I was wondering, how long does that disinfectant last?
About 1 to 2 weeks. We don't want to do it too often because then we can create too much aerosol and contaminants in the air that could be, some people may have a little reaction to the too much particles in the air, especially if you have asthmas and allergies, things like that. So a good balance every 2 to 3 weeks.
And you're intending to do that to every campus, for every campus?
Yes.
Great, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate the education too. That's great. Thank you.
Well, let me remind everybody while we're on this topic that Dr. Cavazos is planning a a walkthrough at our next, on our August facilities meeting. We'll meet out there and probably maybe have our meeting there, and we will all socially distance and so forth, but we'll get a firsthand glance right before school starts. So just everybody mark your calendar for that. Okay, Oscar, thank you. Keep us on
We'll
track.
move on to the phase 2. This is the next phase that we're doing. And the contractor, we already signed the contract with Davila Construction. It was awarded at the last board meeting. They applied for their permits. They also had to apply for a permit with the state health department to get clearance for demolition. They checked for asbestos and our plans and things like that. The building was cleared of asbestos, and we had to wait 10 days. So today was the 10th day. So they're starting demolition later today or tomorrow morning of the old structure and get that project ongoing. They're also doing work on the front drive. We have that drive that goes in front of the cafeteria and it comes in and out. And then we have the little drive for the office area that goes in and out. And then there's a big green space in between. Well, that green space is going to be torn out and the drive's going to go all the way through nonstop from the cafeteria all the way to where the old office used to be. Right here where you see the cone on the left where that drive comes out, it's going to be one long continuous drive. And that's going to allow for more buses and cars to get off the road to improve the traffic circulation. The green canopy you see on the bottom left has already been taken out. It's already been demolished. It's no longer there. As you can see on that photo, that bulldozer tractor on the right, that big yellow machine, knocked it down already. We were allowed to do that work because it was not interior. So that, and this right here where this drive's coming out, that's the drive that comes out from the cafeteria drive. Well, now it's going to go straight all the way through that green space you see and go all the way to where the old canopy used to be. So that'll just allow for better circulation. That's some of the trenching work being done for the electrical power lines, water lines, things like that. That's the interior of the building's been cleaned out, cleared out. The old library on the right, you can see the trusses, even the drop ceiling's been taken out, the carpet's been taken out, and they're getting ready. They were just waiting to get the demolition started. Walking around, you'll also see some writings on the wall, some messages left by some old staff members, alumni. Here's one from an individual, Joseph Alberry, who worked there from 1985 to 1992. And he wrote the principal F. Payne and Linda Crable, Thompson, Olivo, Armstrong, Doty, Muniz, Stanton, and Todd One. So that's some good information. Really interesting to see up there. A couple of other ones. The one on the left, to the Big Bird Room. Thank you for fostering a love of learning and a love of Disney World. We watched the reel-to-reel in the Cookie Monster room. I finally rode the dinosaur ride. Thank you for putting dreams in my heart. I think that's David, something, I can't read the name, but I just thought it was an interesting comment. And the one on the right was, this was my home away from home. I love my time at Treasure Hills Elementary and the wonderful memories we made, Lupita Muniz, Treasure Hills Elementary. So if you walk around, and I think Shane and Brianna and their staff are gonna go around and take pictures of these as the building gets demolished. These are just some old memories and statements that we saw on the walls. Any comments on phase 2?
Oscar, it said substantial completion in April of next year. That's a pretty short time.
We're in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February,
You think
March,
they'll make
April.
that?
That's 10 months. And the only thing we're doing here is the office building. It's a smaller building.
Oh.
The parking lot and the addition around the library addition with some GT classrooms and computer labs and a sensory room.
Okay.
So the scope is a lot smaller than the large 2-story wing that we did. It's just all the little pieces, a bunch of small pieces that are being done, phased in. So that's why it's taking a little long. But the buildings themselves, definitely by April, we should be substantially complete.
Okay.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering about parking. I know we've talked about where and locations, but I was just remembering that we've had an issue with adequacy and location, both of parking in some of our newer campuses, thinking specifically of Means. couple of others, that we had to go back in and correct, although they were relatively new buildings. So, Oscar, have we addressed it from those two perspectives, you know, not just where is it going to be, but are we actually putting in or able to put in adequate parking and space-wise and in a safe location? Again, Rodriguez had to rely on parking on the highway. So I think we need to think about that with each building, and I actually have not asked that question before, so I thought I might want to check.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that we really looked at, and
Good.
also working with the city. Over the years, we've had a lot of complaints from neighbors, from parents from the school during pickup drop-off, that there was just too much traffic, everything was backed
Yeah.
up. And so the city has had conversations with about that. So when we were going to do this new project, we took advantage of this to, actually, we're tripling the amount of parking spaces we have on our streets currently. And we also hired an engineering, traffic engineer to help us come up with maximize, to improve the traffic off-site and within our parking space. And we created three major drop-off points, one on the front of the kitchen office area that I talked about, one in that back long drive around the new building, a two-story building in the back, and then the big parking lot in front has another major pickup area. So all that was considered, and we feel we came up with a really good design, and the city engineering and traffic departments were very happy with the design as well.
Thank you so much. That sounds like a really good script for each time we when we build a campus from now on. We need to be sure and do that. Oscar,
Yes.
thank you.
I love it.
Okay, is there any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the Vernon Language Phase 2. This project is complete. The only thing we have pending left is the replanting of the tree. And along with that goes some electrical work that's supposed to be installed in there, and the sprinkler system to water that tree. So they were about to plant the tree, but we decided to wait till October, which is just a better month to plant the tree. So in the meantime, the contractor has gotten the tree on the right was when the tree was inside, they were inside big black plastic containers, some pots. Was taken a few months ago. And since we're not going to plant it, the contractor went to the nursery and planted it in the ground on the top left corner. That's the actual tree, but it's back in the ground and it'll be nursed there. Make sure it's growing fine. And then in October, we'll relocate it back to our school.
Looks great. Looks
That's
great.
the actual tree on the top left.
That's a big tree. I'm surprised they found one that big. That's great.
Yeah. That's great.
And that's the only thing pending on that project. So any questions there?
At some point, and we finished the interior work?
No.
No.
This is, yeah,
Now,
finished,
okay.
that was all exterior work and the tile
Yeah.
work and the ramps and all the landscaping, lighting. This now is a phase 3 that we awarded to Holcimon Construction. They're doing the interior courtyard, some stairwell upgrades and paint work. So they just got the permit and they're getting ready to start. They're doing the submittal process is getting the cut sheets to all the building materials to the architect to make sure they approve them so they can order the materials to make sure those are the materials that were spec'd. Many times they'll want to buy a product that's not allowed, and so then they'll waste time and money if they do that. So they get the architects to approve the paperwork that, yes, that's the right product, you can order it. So they're already starting that process, and I think we're just getting the building permit here in the next day or two, and they'll start demolition work.
At Christmas?
Well, we're gonna get this is a small project, so it's substantial completion by August. And then, the final punch list probably won't be finished till September, but we'll work around the kids or after work or weekends, or after school or weekends. But the big work we wanna do, before school starts, so it's a very short timeline.
Yeah. I'm still thinking of that, I'm still thinking of that reunion, Greg.
The next project is the golf skill station. We finally got the screens in. and they've been put up. There's a picture. It goes from the low side, which is the right side, is where the kids stand and hit the ball. And of course, the left side is the taller area, and the balls have more room to get some height on the shots. And the groundwork, they put the Bermuda seed. It's already germinating, as you can see there. And closer look of the interior of that driving range. The floor is slanted back towards, I'm sorry, the floor is slanted away, so all the balls will roll to the back of the net, and then they'll be picked up there in one area. So it was designed that way as a good design feature. And we have the putting greens, and of course the grass is growing around there. And the fencing work is complete in the sidewalk. So that this project is pretty much, I think this is the last time you'll see it on the presentation. We're ready to close it out.
Oscar, so the driving range part is natural grass and the putting greens are artificial?
No, they're both artificial.
Both
Oh,
articles.
they're both artificial, okay.
The driving range and the putting green are artificial.
Okay.
It's the surrounding
Surrounding
grass
grass.
that's natural.
Okay. Looks really nice, wow.
The other next project is the elementary school multipurpose buildings, the wall panels. We've already completed Dishman, Houston, and Stewart Place. I presented those at the last meeting. We're now at Rodriguez Elementary, and they're starting the painting work. They got the floor covered. They're gonna paint the trusses and the deck. And this particular mini gym had 6 door openings on each side. And the metal was very thin on them, and there was gaps, so there was a lot of heat coming in. It was hard to keep that space cool. So we're closing 4 of the 6 openings, and we're insulating the remaining 2 so they can have a very good insulated envelope to keep the building very cool, and it'll help with the acoustics. So the principal's very excited about the changes we've made there. So this one should be done in the next month or so, maybe 3 weeks. Just another shot of the building. And they're also painting the ductwork. Any questions on the multipurpose building? If not, we'll move on to the big project, Early College High School UTRGV. The contracts have been signed and executed by both parties. Notice to proceed has been issued. So the contractor has mobilized and is starting work. We had a groundbreaking scheduled a couple of weeks ago, but we got rained out, so that'll have to be done in a future meeting or event. But basically, the contractor is, this is a shot from down the street, down the road. It's a far shot away, but you can see the construction trailer on the right-hand side and a lot of the equipment on site. And they already cleared the site of all the grass and the grub and roots and all the things, undesirable elements that you don't want there. And they're starting to dig. There's gonna be a pad of a 4-foot depth. They're gonna dig down, fill it up with soil again, and then they'll mark the areas where they're going to drill the piers. And all that black fencing is required as part of the pollution prevention plan to reduce any contaminant runoffs off the site so you don't affect surrounding properties. That's required on every project. They've already done that. And so
Contaminants.
we're off starting, and right now the weather cleared up, so it's a good time to do foundational work. If you remember the Treasure Hills one, we got rained out the first 2 months and we couldn't do anything. So hopefully it stays a little bit dry here, and it allows a contractor to really advance the work.
So Oscar,
Any
what's
questions
inside
on
the,
that project?
what's the inside the silt fence? That's where they dug up the base for the foundation, or what?
The entire construction site has to have a silt fence. It's just part of an environmental control that if you have equipment and you have trucks and bulldozers or chemicals and cans, that if something leaks and leaches, it doesn't leach out into surrounding areas or into waterways, into ditches, irrigation canals. You can have antifreeze, you can have oils, you can have gas, diesel, different things leak in the site. And they have found out over the years that sometimes that can leach into waterways or into adjacent properties where the owners will complain that, hey, you're contaminating my site with all these chemicals. So it's required now for every construction project to have this kind of protection around it. So any leaks or contaminants are contained within your own property, and then you're required to clean it up.
Is that just because it's in conjunction with the university, or is that any commercial project?
It says any commercial project. You'll also have like bay hails or different kinds of products around any drain inlets to catch any contaminants going in there. So it's just something that's part of an occupational safety.
Okay, thank you.
The next project is this Transition Academy. Of course, we're rebidding this project, and we've already advertised. A pre-bid meeting will be held July 9th for any potential bidders have any questions. And we'll get the proposals will be due July 21st, and then we'll rank them. We'll present it to the next Facilities Committee meeting on August 4th, and hopefully award it on August 11th. And we've made some changes to the scope. We've taken some things out. Some bigger things have been taken out that we'll do ourselves, self-contracted through the district, which will also help save some money, and we've reduced some of the scope on like the sprinkler systems, fire alarm system, camera systems, technology piece. We'll do all that ourselves so that we don't have the markups from the contractor for general conditions, insurance, bonds, things like that. So we'll see some savings.
Excellent.
And the next project is the Gutierrez Fine Art Academy. We awarded to Spyglass at the last special call board meeting, phase 1, which is all the interior work that we want to try to finish before school starts, is the new curtain wall system for the dining hall at Gutierrez. All they had was that rolled down grate or fence or gate, but you could talk right through it and you'd see right through it. And the noise is, there's no protection from the noise into the main circulation or office area. And Vela and Memorial have that wall, so now Gutierrez will have that same wall with the door opening to create more privacy for the dining hall area. And we're going to do a window in the hallway for the new robotics room, laboratory, so as people are passing by, you can see what's going on in the room. And we also picked a room to have a dance floor. It's called the Marqui system, or part of their fine arts program. And all that's projected to be done right before school starts. So we've issued the notice to proceed, and I believe they're just waiting for the permit. They just applied for it, so probably by middle of next week we should get that project started. The Marquis, I had reported before that they had stopped work and then they resumed work. Well, they shut down again for about 3 weeks, and we just got an email today that they're going to start tomorrow. I think they're closing down every time they have an issue with some employees or an employee whom they suspect may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. They shut down the whole company, they disinfect and send everybody home for 2-3 weeks. So it looks like they're past that phase again, and they're going to start work tomorrow again. So this is one of those stop and start projects, and we're seeing that with vendors, companies out there that are small companies, and they decide to close and they're cautious with their employees. So just reporting that out, that it stopped, but it's back on tomorrow again.
May I ask a question, please? I'm sorry, perhaps
Yes.
I missed this somewhere along the way. Marquis district-wide, does that mean what does that mean we are doing?
If you look there in the middle of the slide where it says scope of work, we're doing signs at Zavala, Vernon, Gutierrez, Harlingen High School, and the Performing Arts Center. So there's 5 of them. We just said district-wide because there was multiple sites.
But my question, I guess, maybe it's obvious, Oscar, but my question is, are we working toward the goal that every campus will have a comparable marquee? I mean, is that what we're doing? Which is great, I think, but I'm just asking.
Well, so several schools had already done theirs through their PTAs and other
Right,
funding
they
sources.
pay for their own, that's correct. Mhm.
Right, so we're trying to get some other campuses that needed help on their digital
Sure.
marquees. And these are the ones that we picked. We can certainly plan to look at others in the future to see if we can get some more done.
I would think that if we have this many going in the district, that we might want to consider that as a goal.
Yeah, Ms. Fleury, we're looking and we're studying that because one of the things that we want to do is use the digital marquees when we have to send out a district-wide message, that it can easily be uploaded to all the marquees. And so we're actually looking at how we can use it for district-wide messaging versus just campus-specific messaging. So when it's all said and done, the ideal is to have everybody have a digital marquee. So that's a goal to where we're headed.
Yeah, that's excellent thinking, thank you.
Okay, the next project is the Econo Academy and Stem Academy portable buildings. We've already received them, they're on site. Econo received an additional double wide portable for 2 classrooms, and the Stem Academy received 2 doubles for a total of 4 classrooms. And they've been delivered to the site. You can see there at Econo, we had 2 doubles, we just added the 3rd one. And the company is anchoring them down, and we also ordered them with steps and ramps in certain places.
Already,
Yeah.
Our maintenance staff is going to be doing the electrical connection,
we got
the
plenty of
fire
room.
alarm, intercom, security, and our IT folks will be running the data lines over there. So they should be ready for the first day of school. And down on the bottom is another view at Econo with all the electrical work we're doing. And then this one is at STEM Academy. We set up 2. The doors are in the middle, so there'll be a ramp up to that big landing with a little covered area for the door entries. And those are in place also. And that's pretty much it. That's end of my presentation. I'll turn it over to Mr. Powers. So Mr. Powers, anything you want to add?
No, just, I'm just amazed at everything going so well. I'm just really happy about Treasure Hills and the way those classrooms turned out. I mean, they're better than I ever anticipated and just really nice. And Vernon looks great. Everything's just coming along super. And sounds like you're right on schedule with everything. So congratulations to your staff and everything y'all are doing.
Greg, I'm sorry, I guess I just have a lot of questions tonight because there's so much work going on. You're absolutely right. I would like to ask again about, if I might, please, on the portable buildings. You know, obviously, I can see STEM is. I mean, is this coming from a growth? Is this coming from expansion? Because there's a vast difference between Econo Academy, which is a well-established large building, and the STEM that we've just recently gotten into and might be an increasing program student-wise. So, I mean, I'm wondering about the portable buildings, and if I missed it, I apologize.
So I'll go ahead and respond to that. STEM Square Academy, STEM Square Prep Academy, it's because of growth. We had a small 8th grade class, and now as kids are progressing, it's growing. Eventually, I predict that we'll outgrow that campus and we'll have to look for a long-term solution. When Kano was built, it was built with a certain number of classrooms. That green space where we're setting the portables was actually set aside in a master plan to add an additional 2-story wing there if needed. And so from the onset, Kano Academy, while it was very well built and designed, there were some teachers that did not have their own classroom. And so there were floating teachers from the onset when we opened the campus. Now looking more closely at pathways that lead to CT certifications and different pathways, and opening principal courses or beginning courses for a CT pathway. Teachers need their own location, and so they're currently being set in an area that's designed for future growth to add an additional 2-story classroom wing at Kano. We're not there yet, but I foresee that in the future, where we will have to put a classroom wing there, double 2-story classroom.
That's great. Thank
Yep.
you. Good explanation. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Then we'll let Julio wrap it up for us, please. Mr. Cavazos?
Okay, let me share this with you. Can you all see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is our construction report as of the end of June 30th, 2020. Column B here, year 1 through 4, the budget of $50 million that we have put into the TRE projects. The year 5 of the budget in column C, another $10 million. So again, $16 million so far through 5 years to the end of June. We have spent $40.8 million, year 1 through 4, another 15.7 in year 5. So the total spent and committed, $56.3 million. So we have a estimate of about $3.3 million left, and some of that is going to be used for, again, early college, high school, and the Treasure Hills Phase 2. So that money is pretty much accounted for. Again, this is through the end of June 30th, 2020, at the end of our fiscal year. I'd be glad to answer any questions that the committee members might have.
Any questions, anyone? All right, if there are no questions in this meeting of the facilities,
Greg?
I'm sorry?
Greg, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
I was just wondering if maybe Julio, if you or Dr. Cavazos ever see the need, I don't know if you, I know you guys can remember this, but, you know, back in the days where we had the bond and, you know, and you know, you had so many projects ongoing, y'all created a really nifty sort of timeline where you had on the, you know, on the y-axis, you had basically all the different projects, you know what I mean? And then you had like, you know, bars showing, and then you had on the x-axis, you had basically, you know, just the timeline on, and so we can kind of expect, you know, when are these projects going to be complete and that kind of stuff. And so you had like pre-planning and then construction and then whatever, you know, you had the different phases, but we could see, you know, and so it seems as if there may be a need to bring this back because kind of like so much work going on and stuff like that. But some of it's not construction, some of it's just renovations or whatever. And so I don't know if you think it could be helpful, or Greg, you know, if you think this will be helpful in the future to bring sort of that concept back, even for renovations, even for all our projects, to see that one snapshot of all the different things going on at the same time in the district, and when and how, you know, what, and so we can kind of tell the % completion of each project and things like that. And so if you think that makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, then that's fine, ignore what I just said. But I'm just trying to think, because we have a lot of stuff going on, and instead of talking about one, you know, we can talk about them individually, which is always helpful. The presentation that you did is awesome, I guess, but if we had like that one snapshot, that one picture of all the projects, and we can see all the timelines, I don't know if there's, if the board.
And I think that's something that Oscar and I can work on, putting together some type of bar graph or line graph on the type of project and the estimated completion. I think that's something that Oscar has presented before in the past. Maybe we can certainly work on that.
Well, I mean, only if Oscar and Greg and the board thinks it's going to be helpful. I don't know. I mean, but it's just a one pager. You can kind of see all the different things going on simultaneously, because Greg's right. I mean, Oscar juggles a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's nice to kind of see on one page all the things that are going on and that kind of stuff.
I think, Oscar, you have an ongoing spreadsheet to that. I think it's a great idea, especially when we do the facility committee reports at the regular board meeting, where we could show a one-pager of the things that we're tracking throughout the months. So
I think it's a great idea.
I brought that to Texas. This is a funny side story, but I brought that same concept to Texas Women's University when I was there, and they loved it, and it was the favorite. They would call it the Nolan slide. But anyway, it was really cool because on one slide you can kind of see everything going on in the campus, you know, that kind of stuff. And so
it's like a dashboard. It's like a dashboard.
Pretty much impossible to do that at UT now. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Good idea.
I think it's a great idea. All right. Maybe, Oscar, we could implement that next time.
We'll work on it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or ideas? All right, going once, going twice. This meeting is adjourned.